Hey everyone, hope you guys are doing well. So in this video, I'm going to go over a major obstacle that I'm seeing Turo hosts run into when it comes to buying cars to list on Turo in the current market that we're in, which is absolutely crazy and bananas. This is something that has been a major hot topic of discussion in my private community, which you can get access to at powerhost.club. Links are in the descriptions down below. Okay, so how do you buy cars for Turo in a market that has just gone bonkers, right? There is a major new car shortage, production is on hold, manufacturing is on hold because there's a shortage in semiconductor chips, and it has just really thrown everything so off balance. On top of that, people are starting to travel. It's summer season. There's pent-up buying demand, and it is just driving a lot of demand towards vehicles, whether you're renting them or you're trying to purchase them, and there is just not enough supply because of this supply and demand that we're experiencing, right? And so what do you do, and how do you avoid the costly mistake of getting into a car that has a very high car payment because you're buying it at a premium price due to the current market conditions? So this is something that I'm seeing a lot of my community members run into, and it's a major issue because if you think about it, a year or two down the line, or when the markets take a turn, every market has highs and lows, and so does Turo. What happens when you get stuck with a vehicle where you have a high car payment and maybe your margins aren't there during a slow season? So in this video, I'm going to go over some of my tips and recommendations on what you can do to get your hands on cars in this type of market at a fair deal to where it can stand the test of time and it can stand the test of changing market conditions. So first thing I want to say is that you really have to approach this with a lot of patience and a lot of caution, okay? You want to make sure that you're not getting caught up in the FOMO of a hot rental market and knowing that business is doing so well and Turo is booming, because if you look at the Google Trends, we see here that there have been more searches for the Turo marketplace than we've ever seen, especially in thriving markets like Hawaii, Florida, Alaska, Atlanta. These markets are just crushing it, right? People literally cannot have enough cars right now, and they're just getting fully booked out every single month, and it's really amazing to see this type of growth, and it's just really been the perfect storm for Turo. But given all that, you don't want to get caught in the hype of, oh, the market's hot, and you want to get in. Of course, you should try to make that entrance given good market conditions, but you want to make sure that you do get in with a vehicle that is bought the right way and at the right price. Just because the market can sustain a higher priced vehicle right now, it doesn't mean that it can sustain it later on when the market conditions do inevitably change. So you really want to think about the long term. Now, from what I see from all the hosts that I talk to and people who are getting into Turo, is that majority of people seems like they are financing their vehicles. And when they're financing their vehicles at sort of these premium prices because dealers aren't willing to bargain with you in this type of market condition, given that supply is so low and demand is so high, you are ending up with really high car payments for cars that are not necessarily worth that much, especially if you are using them for Turo purposes. You have to think that over time, they are going to depreciate significantly just because of the high utilization and the high amount of miles that vehicle is going to accrue just by being on Turo. So it's not like your average daily driver. And eventually what happens in that type of situation is that you end up with a car that you overpaid for, and you actually end up being upside down on that car faster than you normally would on any other given car. So you really want to proceed with caution when it comes to buying a car. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to buy a car in this market. What I'm saying is that it actually just requires a lot more time and effort to find the right deal and to source the right car. So my number one tip and recommendation to doing that is to make sure that before you start searching for cars, you want to approach it backwards. You want to research your market first, and you want to figure out which car is likely going to perform the best in your area and at what day rates it's getting, so that you can determine what your monthly car payment has to be. Then you go out and find a vehicle that will fit that model so that you can accomplish your goals for profitability or whatever margins it is that you're looking for. Now, market research is something that requires a lot of time and effort, and it is really quite intensive. You have to spend a lot of time day in and day out really researching the market, and you definitely want to do so because buying a car, it's a significant financial liability and one that you don't want to get stuck with, right? And so if you want to know how to really thoroughly research the market, check out my site, powerhost.club. In my Turo course, I do have a few videos that really go in depth about this topic and exactly how you go about looking at your market and discovering which cars perform the best. Now, let me put it into sort of perspective for you guys to sort of describe the market that we're in right now. It's as if what I'm seeing other Turo hosts do is they're buying cars as if you bought Bitcoin when it was at its peak of $60,000 per coin, right? And now the market has taken a major downturn for Bitcoin and it's somewhere in the 30,000 range. And so basically what I'm seeing is that there are a lot of hosts who bought very, very high, and eventually we will find ourselves in a market that is going to take a downturn, and they will be left holding the bag because at the end of the day, you are still responsible for those payments and the margins may not be there. So as you go into doing your market research, thoroughly look at what cars perform well, what day rates they get, so that you can determine exactly what car payment you need to be at. Then when you go and actually research the market, you can go through Car Guru, Auto Trader, Carfax, whatever site is out there. These are all ones that I've used and I have found great deals through that. But you want to make sure that you know your numbers going into it, because when you spot that deal, you absolutely have to move on it right away. This market is so hot right now that if there are any deals out there or whatever supply there is out there, it's being snatched up super quick. So if you see it and it matches the numbers where you need to be at, you got to pull the trigger, you got to get into that car and get it listed. So it's very interesting times that we're in. So you have to really approach it very strategically, and you need to know what your numbers are, and you have to be really precise about it so that you make the best buying decision and you have the best sort of outcome when you list that vehicle on Turo. Because what you don't want to happen is that you list a vehicle on Turo, the car payment is high, but you got into it because the deal was there. It does very well in the summer peak season that we're experiencing right now, but come winter time, especially if you are located somewhere where you have harsh winters, and all of a sudden you experience a complete drop off in business, because this does happen. You want to make sure that you're not in a situation to where you can't afford that car payment and end up with a lot of financial liability. That would be worst case scenario, and you just don't want to be in that situation. Now, I know that there are a lot of you who have gotten into deals like this. So what do you do? How do you sort of course correct what has happened? Now, we are also in a very rare window of time where there is a phenomenal opportunity to sell your vehicles as well. Because of the shortage in supply, you are really getting top dollar for cars as well. So I would encourage you, if you think that you are in a vehicle that maybe isn't performing as well as you had anticipated, or maybe you got into it at a price that was a bit more than where it should have been, you really want to look at possibly selling off that vehicle now and then getting yourself into a better deal. I've recently gone through a few sites. I've been selling off some of my cars because I am getting top dollar for them. Vroom has been phenomenal. They've actually given me the highest value for my cars. Second to Vroom was CarMax, actually. And then after CarMax was Carvana. So all of these sites have actually been great. I've had a great experience. I'll break down the sale of one of my cars in an upcoming video, but definitely something to think about as an exit. And then of course, anytime you buy any car for Turo, before you make that commitment, make sure you have a model in your mind about how you're going to exit out of that vehicle. Are you going to keep it for the life of the loan? Are you going to keep it for 3 years before you begin to hit maintenance issues, mechanical issues, and have all that additional cost sort of tacked onto that? What is your game plan getting into it? So I often see people make the mistake of just being very short-sighted when getting into a vehicle because it's exciting, but then you don't think about what happens a year or 2 years down the line. So I really just wanted to get this video out there and get this message out there that yes, if you're operating on Turo right now, it's a phenomenal time. We're crushing it. The margins are amazing. The day rates are amazing, and business is just through the roof. It's just booming, which is what we had anticipated to happen in summer of 2021. But if you're looking to get into the marketplace, you want to make sure that you're not making a buying decision because you're having FOMO of, this super hot market that you're trying to get into, and that you're really going about it with a lot of logic and reasoning, and your numbers and you've done your research and you go into it with a lot of precision. So I really want to get that out there. I hope that this helps you guys make better buying decisions and that you really make the right choice going into Turo so that you have the best probability for the highest margins. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Once again, my name is Saimah. This is Saimah's Experience. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.